Good evening. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight with some breaking news in the Yukon, where the territory's longest-running newspaper has announced it will soon close. The independent Whitehorse Star has published for 124 years. The news of its closing was delivered to readers in today's edition of the paper. A group of Yukoners recently banded together to try and save the paper, but it seems those efforts have failed. The owners say the decision was, quote, necessary because of several overwhelming factors. Those include plummeting advertisement revenue and a sharp decrease in circulation. The paper will officially close on May 17th. We'll have more on this developing story for you on Monday. Next week in Whitehorse, a coroner's inquest will be looking into the drug-related deaths of 4 Indigenous women. They all lost their lives while seeking services at the emergency shelter. Virginie Ann has more.
The emergency shelter that's behind me has been the scene of several tragedies since it opened its door in 2017. Now, the Yukon's chief coroner will be looking into 4 deaths that happened right here. Cassandra Warville and Miranda Tiza Charlie both died in January 2022. Josephine Elizabeth Hager and Darla Skukum lost their lives in the early months of 2023. Families have been waiting for the inquest to happen for some time. The territorial government says it's providing money for them so they can attend. The coroner's office and the government are both warning that this will be a difficult one. All 4 deaths could be linked to substance use. So the inquest will be looking into just that. What and how it happened, as well as what can be done to prevent it from happening again. The jury will have the opportunity to make recommendations at the end of the inquest. Their job isn't to find legal or criminal responsibility. We're expected to hear from several experts about the deaths, as well as to see security videos that was taken during the time. Virginie Ann, CBC News, Whitehorse.
If you live in Yellowknife, you're familiar with its recycling stations. There are a handful of them around town, clusters of these big blue bins where you're asked to separate paper, plastic, tin, and glass. For years, we've known some of those materials just end up in the dump. The CBC's Leanie Lambrink went to the landfill recently to learn where these materials go and why. So, Leanie, have there been any changes to the way that Yellowknife does its recycling?
The short answer to that question is no. So back in 2019, we found out several recyclable materials were being landfilled: plastic, tin, glass. The explanation back then had to do with China. It was the primary importer of the world's recyclables, but it banned 24 types of material back in 2018. Municipalities across Canada have struggled to find a market for these things ever since, and that has not changed.
Okay, so what is exactly happening then with these materials?
So I asked Chris Vaughn that question. He's Yellowknife's manager of solid waste and sustainability. He tells me plastic is compacted and landfilled. Glass is crushed into a fine powder and then landfilled. They are not being recycled. For the other materials, the situation doesn't sound as bad. Tin is baled and sold when there's enough of it. The city actually makes some money off of cardboard.
Your regular cardboard, that's probably the most valuable of all the material and probably easily represents at least 90, if not more, % of the tonnages that come in from the blue bins. When we can, we send those down south where they're shipped out to the recycling markets. Like I mentioned before, those markets are volatile, and so we do try our best when we have a shredder in town to find clever ways to use them.
Vaughn says the city made $80,000 selling cardboard last year.
Okay, not too bad. We've been in this situation though for years now, Leanie, where we're dumping plastic and glass. So is there anything on the horizon that's a better solution?
So there is a solution that can be explored at the territorial level. It's called Extended Producer Responsibility, or EPR. EPR would shift the cost of recycling from government back onto whomever produced the material in the first place, like manufacturers, brand owners, importers. So let's say you buy cereal from the grocery store. EPR assigns responsibility for that box. When you're done with it, back to the producer. Alberta is implementing EPR already. Jennifer Kuhl is the executive director of the Recycling Council of Alberta, and she says EPR can take pressure off of municipal landfills that up until now have kind of had to deal with just whatever consumers have been throwing out.
It's shifting that responsibility back to those people that are causing the problem. And that is really the crux of it, that if those who are causing the problem can feel the pain of the problem, it will help eliminate the problem.
So what would EPR or extended producer responsibility look like in the Northwest Territories?
So we don't know the answer to that question just yet. It would depend on whatever regulations are crafted, but we do have a lot of examples because every province in Canada already has some kind of EPR program. In a lot of places, producers form these groups and take on recycling responsibility collectively. Here's Jennifer Kuhl again.
Most jurisdictions across Canada, the responsibility for waste collection and recycling is at the municipal level. So infrastructure is already in place that could be private or municipally owned or contracted. The trucks, same, that go around to collect it. The responsibility of communicating about how, when, where, what of a recycling program or waste management program really has been on the shoulders of the municipality and ergo paid for by the taxpayer. So this whole system of EPR kind of shifts that back to the producer, often enabled through the producer responsibility organization, to work within systems that already exist, but either to create a new system. There may be new ways to collect recycling that we haven't thought of yet that producers are going to be creative and innovative and bring to us, or they may choose to contract with a municipality to use their current system and just pay for it, or some hybrid of the two.
Provinces have chosen to manage different materials through EPR. In Alberta, for example, it's single-use products, packaging, printed paper, and hazardous products.
So are there any plans in the Northwest Territories to implement this program?
Not yet, but it is an option. And what I mean by that is the previous Legislative Assembly revamped the Territories Waste Reduction and Resource Recovery Act. So now it allows for something like extended producer responsibility to be brought in. But it's unclear at this point if there's any momentum to do so. None of the current MLAs have pitched bringing in an EPR program so far. It is happening elsewhere in the north. The Yukon is working on EPR for common blue bin items and more hazardous things like paint, waste oil, and antifreeze. And like I said earlier, every single province in Canada already has some form of extended producer responsibility so far.
Okay, thanks for all your work on this, Leanie.
Thank you.
As we head into fire season, water levels in most of the NWT remain very low. That's according to the Department of Environment and Climate Change. Water levels on Great Slave Lake are the lowest ever recorded for this time of year. That's also the case for Great Bear Lake and the flow of the Mackenzie River. One of the biggest sources of water for the Mackenzie River is snow in the mountains of Alberta and British Columbia, and that too has been well below average this year. A new report is raising the alarm over the global impact of last year's historic wildfire season. The World Resources Institute found that Canada accounted for more than half of the world's forests lost in 2023 due to fire. And experts say climate change created the conditions. Anand Ram explains.
This year, the fruits of Vidal Munoz's labor are fewer and farther away, because these forests that provide for him are burned by other farmers to illegally clear land for more money-making crops. Some experts say past leadership looked the other way.
Conservation is a colonial line that the North wants to impose to the South. We see that discourse have become in many ways a policy.
Bolivia is one of a few countries called out in a new report on the state of protecting the world's forests. Weaker regulations there, but stronger policies are showing progress nearby.
Natureza que está precisando de dinheiro.
Pro-environment leadership in both Brazil and Colombia is changing those forests' fortunes, and the data shows it. Compared to last year, both countries had big declines in deforestation. But the big outlier globally, Canada's wildfires.
There was actually a big increase, five-fold increase from loss due to fires in Canada from 2022 to 2023, and we wanted to make sure to highlight that in the report.
Simply put, the scale of Canada's fires, made worse by climate change, is limiting any progress in forest conservation.
It sometimes feels frustrating, like some of that is canceled out by this larger issue that we're facing.
And with similarly dry conditions, Canada looks primed for a repeat of last year.
We really should be focused on restoring forests that have already been impacted. And we really need to start planning to make our forests climate resilient for an uncertain future.
However, experts stress that protecting the world's forests through good policies can help combat climate change and bring back life and livelihood to these lungs of the earth. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
In British Columbia, the government says it's setting up a dedicated wildfire training and education center in Kamloops. The BC Premier calls it an important step for preparing firefighters of the future.
In the last 3 years, we've seen 2 of the worst forest fire seasons our province has ever seen. And the trend is clear and profoundly concerning right now. The snowpack is much lower than normal. Many parts of our province at the highest level of drought, and the fire threat is very profound.
The program is in response to recommendations from a provincial task force that's finding ways to support people during emergencies. EB says it's the first program of its kind in North America. Classes are expected to begin next year.
Tinga diwaling mulu pangolo asyang miu muna toy mo ina daily takpa kemuk sa palilok sa mga tayo mabuhat taling ni pilariyo sa mga inuit amichwalu walang mata.
Priya doesn't love exercising, but loves the way it makes her feel. Max doesn't love cooking, but loves homemade meals with his kids. Paul doesn't love doing his taxes, but loves getting the benefits and credits he qualified for. Learn more about benefits and credits like the GST HST credit and Canada Workers Benefit at canada.ca/every dollar counts. A message from the Government of Canada.
What does it take to reach the top? Join me, Ian Hannamansing, as I get to know some truly inspirational people who share the secrets of their success.
If you want to talk about one moment, it's a moment where I would live or die.
It changed everything on CBC News Explore.
Moments that are so on trend right now. Ticket pricing, artificial intelligence, being a Swiftie, wild fashion trends, showbiz, and cancel culture. Join me, Alameen Abdul-Mahmoud, for Commotion, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sipping on a bit of Henny, can I get a little Remy? Feeling heavy, chilling but I'm feeling ready. Pulled up in a big old Chevy.
We are officially in spring carnival season in the 3 territories. In the NWT, the Inuvik Muskrat Jamboree and the Yellowknives Dene First Nation Spring Carnival both kick off today and run into the weekend. And in Iqaluit, it is tunic time. It also starts today and runs until the next weekend. In Iqaluit, today is a holiday, and we decided to take a look back at past tunic times. This next story is from the 2007 festival, and you might just see some familiar faces.
The Fear Factor contestants are waiting to start. Johnny Sajomi is one of them. He won this event 2 years ago.
Yesterday, I got the call to come here, and I said yes. I've thought about it since then. Ottawa? Free trip to Ottawa? I didn't need anything since they called me yesterday.
As the audience comes in, the contestants wait nervously. They don't know what's in store for them. Archie Angnakak's the host. He knows what's coming.
It's something that's going to be the first time in their life, I guess, that they're going to be eating. So it's going to be interesting who's going to be having the strongest stomach.
The contestants come onto the stage. Eric Nutagarak says the fishy smell in the air is making him hungry.
I'm thinking of my fellow contestants and I'm happy. And I want to win somehow, but if I don't, it's okay. I just want to compete against these guys.
First on the menu, a plate of mealworms. Contestants have to move them to another plate in 1 minute. What they don't move, they have to eat. The crowd is grossed out, but all the contestants manage to eat what's on the plate.
This is what the contestants are eating right now. Just to find out how gross it is, I decided to eat one myself.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Tastes a little bit like butter.
The second course is a real combo. A bowl of worm and cockroach soup with worm juice and a worm sandwich on the side. Eric does well by trying not to think about what he's eating.
I just chewed and swallowed them. I mean, I just ate them. They were alive, those bugs, different kinds, some skinny and others with big legs.
Only 3 are left now. They have to jump into fish guts, garbage, and blood and find 10 different items. Johnny Sa sets the time to beat at 5 minutes. Eric's turn. He tries his hardest, but just can't beat the time. Mooney Laita is the last contestant. He has 30 seconds left. Then he finds the last item. It's Mooney who's going home with the big prize. He's covered in blood and guts, but he's the crowd's hero tonight.
Well, the curling rink's pretty much cleaned up. They're cleaning up the mess behind me. But you can be sure that next year, people will be back here to be grossed out again by Tunik Time Fear Factor. John Main, CBC News, Iqaluit.
An epic piece from our archives. Community centers are places that bring people together from near and far, and a new one just opened in Mayo. People are already flocking to it. It's called Idse, the Northern Shoshone word for heart. The space is multi-use. People can meet, eat, and create. The official opening was this week. A large crowd gathered around a sacred fire, heard opening remarks, and they were invited to tour the new facility. Donna Hope is chief of the Nachonayak Dun. She says her community has grappled with a lot of challenges in recent years, and the community center will help.
My heart is full. I cannot believe the amount of excitement that has gone into this, and I can see that there's going to be good things in the future to come. We're going to take all the bad things that happened to Mayo and push them down and just shine and bring light back to the community.
Inside the building, there's a full commercial kitchen to cook up meals, a communal space to gather over tea and snacks, a creative space to hold workshops and art projects, and a space to display local arts and crafts. The official opening celebration runs all weekend. Many sky watchers will be spending the weekend getting ready for Monday's total solar eclipse. The path of the eclipse will run right through much of eastern Canada. A group of high school students realized the path follows another remarkable journey, the migration of monarch butterflies. And that led the friends to a special project, all for a good cause. The CBC's Shannon Martin spoke to them.
My dad loves monarch butterflies, so he plants a lot of milkweed there, so they're always around at my cottage. It's like, instead of just like talking that you're gonna do something, like we've actually like turned the talk into actually being able to do something. So making a real impact on the monarch butterflies while being able, like educating people about it, while being able to like have something that's really cool to, for people to experience.
When I tell like my friends about it, they did not know that they were endangered species, because like I kind of just found out about that too.
So we did some research, and coincidentally, the Monarch Butterfly migration path from Mexico to the United States to Canada is the exact same path this year of this solar eclipse.
From there, the ideas kept fluttering. Soon the friends were designing special solar eclipse glasses, then selling them around Oakville and beyond to Conception Bay, Newfoundland, Texas. Even the Prime Minister picked up a pair.
The hope for our project is to raise enough or as much money as we can so we can help the Monarch Butterflies and just get people maybe to plant milkweed or giving it to different charities or nonprofit organizations will just help them and make the population grow and hopefully change their endangered status.
They say 100% of their net proceeds will go to a foundation they've started. The goal, helping people or organizations working to preserve monarch butterflies.
It's a symbol of the resilience and beauty for urban environments, but from 1 billion species back in the 90s, its population has dropped significantly. It's because of the habitat loss and the lack of the critical plant species such as milkweeds. So we were super excited to see that they picked a cause that is really dear to our hearts. And it's amazing to see that capacity building and in younger generations.
Beyond fundraising, the teens also find themselves educating people about the eclipse.
A lot of people didn't know about the total solar eclipse, so we'd want them to be prepared and not to damage their eyes, because we've had a lot of questions about it and why can't we use normal sunglasses.
This type of solar eclipse is only going to happen here in another 375 years, so it's once in a lifetime. We don't want people to not know about it and then not be able to see it.
So having a project with 5 girls that are interested in science, interested in business, that's can make all of us parents proud. Where they give back, this project gave back at the local level, but it's also going to give back at the international level. And it's just begun, right? Right now, they're packing glasses and, taking orders. But in the future, when they get to sit down and actually take that money that they've generated and start directing it to whether it's a young girl that wants to have a pollinator garden in Ohio, or whether it's the national park in Point Pelee, it's going to be a real sort of growing experience for them as well.
We're quickly getting to the end of hibernation season. In some places, it's already happened. In Banff, one of the best-known grizzlies in the area is awake. Albertans are already flocking to the mountain to get photos of the bear in action, and that has bear safety experts urging caution. Karina Zapata has more.
After 2 years of searching, Tasha Barnett finally caught a glimpse and some photos of Bear 122 this week.
It was an emotional, kind of exciting, surreal experience just seeing him.
She knew it was the boss by his massive size and the missing chunk of his right ear.
There's not a lot of bears that look like him.
Many are rushing to the boss's usual spots this year, garnering mixed reactions online. Some are concerned it's putting all parties in danger. Canadian Bear Safety Authority founder John Clark says it's critical people stay a good 100 meters away.
What I worry about is that one day somebody's going to get too close and he's just not going to agree with that space and he might take a run at somebody. And we don't want that.
Clark says anyone heading to the mountains should take a bear safety course. And he hopes Parks Canada creates a bylaw to ensure people keep their distance. Parks Canada says it's illegal to feed, entice, or disturb wildlife in any national park. Violators could face fines up to $25,000. Karina Zapata, CBC News, Calgary.
Everyone knows there's a lot of benefit from a big hug, but one woman in Victoria got a bit more than she bargained for. What started out as a fearful moment, though, became a lot more meaningful. Take a look.
Hey, baby, please don't hurt me. He's on my leg.
I was terrified because I looked down, I was in the octopus suit, and he had his tentacles wrapped around both my legs, and the grip was so strong. It felt like I was getting my blood pressure taken on my calves. I was shaking, and I thought that was it. I thought I was going to die. I thought he was going to spray me with that venomous dye, and there was no escaping. All of a sudden, I just told myself, okay, I have to calm down. I'm going to have a heart attack. And then miraculously enough, he calmed himself down, and then he loosened his grip, and then he floated away a little bit. I had so many comments saying, pet him, pet him, pet him. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. I did. I pet him. I watched his horns stand up, and he seemed to enjoy it. And I kind of felt this really weird connection with it. I guess I've had about 10 encounters with him now. Like, I'm actually starting to fall in love with this guy. He's like a little ocean puppy. He comes to me and just me, no one else. I'm the chosen one.
That is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a great weekend.
Priya doesn't love exercising, but loves the way it makes her feel. Max doesn't love cooking, but loves homemade meals with his kids. Paul doesn't love doing his taxes, but loves getting the benefits and credits he qualified for. Learn more about benefits and credits like the GST HST credit and Canada Workers Benefit at canada.ca/every dollar counts. A message from the Government of Canada.
So good.
Please be careful.
I'm excited, dude. Me too. We're back with Crime Scene Kitchen. It's a bold choice.
Yes, honey.
It's a very straightforward recipe. This is going to be an absolute showstopper.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Woo!
Yeah. I murdered a donut.
That's a crime scene.
I'm such a fan of this show.
Listen to the podcast, Q with Tom Power.
The story itself is so unbelievable.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
The presence I feel now is not something that I believed to be possible in the past.
So many people thought I couldn't do it. They doubted me.
Felt like I ripped my whole heart out.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I have to kind of repress my own self-doubt.
You're one of my favorite interviewers, so I was pumped.
Get out of here.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello. Dad is the master of marketing.
So handsome, both of them. How big is my face? Bigger.
That's a superstar wherever he goes. 2, 1.
Go back to
me. Daddy marketing works.
Her particular skill set can be helpful to us.
She's a con artist. I need to get off that boat and back to being a full-time detective. And you need to stay out of prison. The best way we do that is to keep our heads down and do as we're told.
What does it take to reach the top? Meet some truly inspirational people as they share the challenges and secrets of their success. It changed everything on CBC News Explore.
What do we know
about that with Andrew Chang?
I think we can